Hey, cousins. Let's have a fun conversation. Let's have a debate. Here's the debate. Here's the question. Is Roman Reigns the OTC one, the tribal chief, the head of the table, the king of the Ulafala, the king of the Samoans? Is Roman Reigns correct in the fact that it was easy to get over in the Attitude Era than it is now? And I don't even know what this is called. Are we still in the PG era? The reality era? The Paul Leviskate era? Was it easier? Now, I know Joanna, why I'm about to call him that. Roman Reigns was on Stephanie McMahon's Cabaret. And I saw the clip where he was like, you could get over in the Attitude Era because you could shove things up your ass, whoop the whoop the whoop. And of course, Stephanie and her freak ass homie had to take the opportunity to say, well, it's not easy shoving things up your ass. And I was just like, girl, I don't even want to watch your show. That's not nothing new, he said. Actually, he said that in 2021. Now, didn't have a podcast in 2021, so now we can actually dive in and have that conversation, right? Because what he said on Stephanie McMahon's podcast was literally verbatim. What he said essentially. This was in 2021. What he said in 2025 is essentially the same thing. He said, to be honest, and this is going to make some good headlines, but it would have been easy. I feel like John Cena said it before. He said, it's a challenge to be PG. It's a challenge to not have to go the cheap route. Being able to shove everything up everyone's ass to do that stuff just to chug beers, and I'm not taking anything from anybody. These guys were great performers, and in-ring wrestlers. But the character development was easier. If I could just start chugging bourbon and smoking cigars, imagine what my character would be. We could go even further on this mob boss thing. This was, before he cut all the way loose. This was in 2021. This was written. He said, it's more challenging what we do now. It's the facts. That's why the business is bigger. That's why we have a bigger platform now, and it's all due to the work done before us to get us to this point. Okay, so he's saying they did all of that so they don't have to do it again. Okay? I'm gonna be honest with you. When I listen to a lot of folks pine for the Attitude Era, I notice that they're young. They're like way younger than me, and a lot of them wasn't even around. And I always laugh and I say, folks be talking about shit as if they were there. All of the highlights and the things that we love seeing about the Attitude Era were not in a vacuum. They were few and far between. It was wrestling going on. It was a lot of bullshit, terrible writing, things thrown at the wall that wasn't sticking, a lot of offensive shit, confusion. It was just utter debauchery and no real direction. So in that case, I do agree with Roman. Because there was no real direction and folks just had a fever to beat WCW, we had to let them know what we were doing over here. That makes sense. Throw everything at the wall. Okay? Everyone loves Stone Cold Steve Austin. But what exactly is his character development? The guy came, raised hell, opened up a can of whoop ass, and left. That's really it. Okay, that's all we know. Anybody that's going to sit here and give you some deep, in-depth story about Stone Cold is gonna, first of all, fucking lie. Okay, we like Stone Cold. The men and the women like Stone Cold for different reasons, but the main thing was this man came in and whooped his boss's ass. People who were working at that time loved to whoop their boss ass, and they couldn't do it. So they turned on TV and watched Stone Cold whoop his boss ass every chance he got. Okay? And the ladies were attracted to that, him walking around like a pit bull, okay? Cussing, spitting, raising hell, talking shit, throwing up the middle finger and fuck this and fuck that. Yes. That is what was on the menu back in the Attitude Era. Sex was on the menu. A lot of drugs, a lot of fucking, okay? Wasn't too structured. That is what people are missing. Complete chaos and utter debauchery. Now, when we talk about the PG era, or whatever era we in now, whatever we in the Paul Levesque era. The difference between then and now is that was a private company. WWE, you know, didn't have a whole bunch of people to go to. It was just Vince McMahon, whatever he wanted to do at the time, right? Now, there is a plethora of people that you have to, whatever idea you got to go through channels, right? Now we know better about CTE. We know better about blood-borne pathogens. We know all the things not to do, okay? And in some instances in PG, it made things shocking when it happened. If you all of a sudden see when somebody's nose broke, you're concerned. It's like, oh, look. If you saw a motherfucker bleeding every week, you're not going to care. And then all of the novelty is going to come out of it. And I ain't going to say no names, AEW. But, you know, it is what it is. Now, in terms of character development, Roman said, if I could cut loose and do all the things I want to do, hell yeah, I get over. And I'm going to tell you what, the only reason why the OTC got over is because he was stomping around, throwing his weight around, talking cash shit, swagger on swagger. And some people say he was just acting like a black man. Listen, that's what people say. That's what the people say. Okay? Says a lot about what the people say when they, what they see when they see black dudes. But when you see that cool, I'm handling business, he grabbing his shit, that's black dudes. That's it. And, you know, black dudes come in a variety of different types of style and swagger. And he chose the cocky one. Okay? Because Joe, outside of his Roman Reigns OTC character, he's a chill guy. He's a chill, gentle guy. That's what he said. Y'all saw him on Vanity Fair. That's Joe, N.O.Y. That ain't cocky ass. This is my ring. Them are my people. That's my money. That's not. He playing a character. He playing a character. That would have got over in the Attitude Era. Oh, yes, please. Look at The Rock. Came out, grinning, skinning, Polynesian, doing his little dance and stuff. Them people was like, no, thank you. Got with the Nation of Domination. Ron Simmons said, act like me. And there you go. The Rock said, I'm a pie eating, jabroni beating. That man spent his nights talking about eating pie and slicing it up in the ring. Roasting people, laying it in to Stephanie McMahon. Ooh, Stephanie McMahon, I tell you what, she is a team player because when she got them titties done, they call her a hoe every night on every single episode of Raw and SmackDown. Shit, The Rock got so damn cocky, he had his own show. Y'all do know SmackDown literally came from The Rock and his commentary of laying the smacketh down on jabronis, right? Yeah. I do think the character work in the Attitude Era was lacking. Now, if I had to pick characters that actually had a little depth, I would say Goldust. Goldust had some depth. Listen, Goldust today, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Okay? Eddie Guerrero, no. No, we went the Latino heat, the La Raza and all that. I don't know if he was so hyper Mexican, if you understand what I'm saying, that I don't know if that would have came over well. Now, you know, people love it now because he's gone and you can kind of have your nostalgia, but everything was turned up 10 times. The ladies, you already know that shit wasn't going down. Them bitches was butt naked every night, y'all. And apparently, which we'll talk about, they told the ladies, y'all got to tone it down. You're not going to be better than a man. And I guess that's happening again in the Paul Levesque era. So the question remains, was it easier to get over at that time and it requires more? They also say that being a heel is easier than being a face. And I would definitely have to agree with that. It's a point where there's even a way to wrestle as a heel, and there's a way to wrestle as a face. A face has more fight. A heel does more of the cowardly stuff. I'm gonna hit you when you don't see it. I'm gonna run out the ring. They get to chill and be mean and nasty, while the face has to fight the heel off, and fight to keep the audience engaged. Yes, that's what they call wrestling psychology. Yeah. Is Roman Reigns right? Well, according to this article, given that Reigns gave his interview with the very WWE friendly outlet, there's a part of this said that means to bolster his current heel persona. Taken at face values, Reigns is both right and wrong. It is true that many of the characters and tropes of the Attitude Era wouldn't fly today. No one in the PG era has, for example, donned blackface or forced women to get on all fours and bark like a dog, which is a huge check mark in its favor. Well, I mean, he did have Mark Henry's sisters come out, and they were all men, I guess. And him and Lana was about to fuck right there on the top of the ring. That couple weeks we had to suffer through that, but I get the point. Reigns is correct saying that many of the tricks people used to get over were cheap, but these are already things that most fans already knew. Similar to people who get nostalgic about a certain area of music by lifting up all the good songs and ignoring all the bad ones, painting the Attitude Era with a broad stroke disregards all the gimmicks that weren't as memorable or successful. Well, I told you about Eugene, Al Snow, right? Eddie Guerrero, right, was the big one. You had Crime Time. Y'all love Crime Time. Y'all had MVP, right? There was a lot of people in the Attitude Era that was doing the best they could with what they had, child. But listen, that DX and all of that sex and debauchery and just doing anything to get on TV, and just the need and the want and the hunger to make Vince McMahon happy. People was doing shit they ain't had no motherfucking business, child. They were willing to be put in positions to the point where pro wrestling in the 90s and early 2000s looked like homoerotic porn. You could literally put one of those 70s type waka wow down, like when they about to get down, over any clip from the Attitude Era, and it will look like they're about to fuck. Yeah. Yeah. John Cena and The Rock cutting promos on each other that was so homophobic, and glad based the faux Antifa stable known as Retribution. Y'all knew they was making fun of all of the civil unrest and stuff that was going on at the time, right? So there was some dust ups during the PG era, but no era is ever like the other one that came before it, and that's the whole point of learning from the past. So everyone is pining for the Attitude Era all the time. Even young people who did not live through the Attitude Era and kind of rewatching some of the old stuff. It wasn't as great and grandiose as you think it was. I'm trying to tell y'all. And quiet as it's kept, SmackDown in the early years when it was on like TNN and G4 TV was better than Raw. Now, don't get me wrong. That Raw intro had me bust my mind. I remember I was running to get to that goddamn bed. I was watching in my room and I bust my damn toe on the side of my bed frame. Them fucking intros, the nostalgia, the excitement, everything that's lost now. I pine for that. I pine for that type of stuff, and we'll talk about that for another time. But is Roman Reigns correct? One more time, cousins. Was the Attitude Era just cheap and easy? And working now takes a lot more skill and a lot more patience and a lot more insight to actually get over? Or is he full of shit and just can't get the job done? Let me know what you think in the comments.